I'll let you lead.
Hi, Daniela. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, it's great to meet you, Christine.
I,
This is so exciting to get to connect with another social worker, another mom, another, entrepreneur across the state. This is awesome.
I was just thinking the same thing. I've just been like all day, like I've been excited, and I've done coffee with coaches, but I've never really dived into getting to hang out and collaborate with other social workers this way. So I just am so excited about it and thankful that we got to connect this way. And I wanted to know if maybe you could start by, sharing a little bit about yourself and how you how you decided to become a social worker in the first place.
Oh goodness. Okay, so that was a long time ago, where I definitely knew I wanted to work with people, work with kids. I originally in college was starting the psychology route and realizing for what I really wanted to do to make that impact, working with people one-on-one, helping them with their problems and issues. Social work was kind of definitely the way to go. I felt to make that big impact, and so I've been doing this for 20 something years between a couple of different jobs. My recent, I've been in a high school for the last 21 years, and I love working with families and young people and helping them see all the opportunities available and possibilities, and to see beyond that moment of how they're feeling right now, and the different ways, not a one size fits all, but the different ways to eventually reach where they see themselves 5, 8 years from now.
And I see the smile, come onto your face as you start talking about it, and I can totally relate. I love
You were
being
in a high school as
able.
well, right?
What'd you say?
You said you were in a high school as well, correct?
I've been a social worker for, I was going into my 19th year, and I was in the high school for about 15 years, and I've been in the elementary school for about 2 years now. But I actually came into the avenue of social work through drugs and alcohol, and having a desire to have a better understanding of addiction and how that played a role in families. And I just always, I didn't even get to tell you this, I'm a twin.
Oh my
And
gosh, I didn't know that.
so I always had my twin with me, and I just, I always needed, like, we always just helped each other. And I found such a desire in helping, and found sports as like an avenue to release feelings and emotions through school, and became, I guess, kind of a natural leader. And people, would come to me with different difficulties, and I always found such joy
Hmm.
in helping, also understanding how problems arise, to kind of dissect it a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So I just have such a passion to get a better understanding from other people, how they've gotten through things and different events and stuff like that. So it's so exciting to get to talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I think we all have our own kind of journeys to end up in this role, because it is a very personal job in so many ways, not only of how much you're involved in other people's lives, but how much sometimes you do have to give of yourself or be present, to be able to do this. So everyone's kind of reason and their why to be in this position is very different.
Yes, and that leads us right into talking a little bit more of a topic that I wanted to kind of go to right now, is about self-care. And
Hmm.
as social workers, and as people who are giving, psychologists, social workers, counselors out there, we're givers. What does self-care look like for us?
Right. Right. And I think in general, helping self-care, become part of the conversation and the norm. I always kind of say, it's not just the spa days and the pedicures and things like that, but it's all those little day-to-day habits that we incorporate, whether it's from how we decorate our homes, how we dress and express ourselves with our style, how we eat, how we exercise, how we do so many different things, and sometimes it's just a couple minutes a day, but that's part of our daily self-care. I know you had talked about mindfulness when we were talking prior to filming, as far as that was something, that you were invested in as well. And I think that's a big part of just being present and recognizing even those normal day-to-day things as self-care can give it that benefit.
I can't agree more. And I think back to a couple things, when oftentimes we don't go to those self-care things until we're in that high stress mode, until it's like urgent. And I have found, more so over the past 5 years, exactly what you're talking about, those small daily things when
Mhm.
you're not in the state of high up here
Yeah.
really help, especially like the past 5 months with, what's been going on with the world. For me, having those small, consistent, daily activities have been what's kept me sane.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of those small daily self-care things. What does that look like?
It varies from person to person. It's definitely a very unique experience as far as, what can be your self-care. For some, like for me, some of mine is even just my nighttime routine, wash my face, maybe doing a mask. Some of those things, by really setting aside even just 5 minutes to do that, my kids know though, like that's my time. I'm going up to get ready for bed, you know, that's my self-care. Maybe it's my coffee and spending a couple minutes, even just when you're brushing your teeth, kind of taking some time to do some mindful breathing or things like that. It's very customized depending on what you need, but like I said, it's even how you choose to decorate your home. Sometimes if you feel like you're overwhelmed in clutter, taking the time to, maybe organize, purge a little bit, get rid of some things can help create that sense of calm. I always think of self-care a little bit from almost a fitness perspective of like a muscle memory kind of thing. It's something you almost train for so that you're not waiting until you need it to try and like turn it on or do something, but that you just kind of build into it. So it's almost more of a grounding thing rather than an active thing.
100%. Mindful walks are,
Mhm.
amazing. In the middle of the day during my lunchtime, I would, do that, just fresh air,
Yeah.
the 5 minutes to get outside, especially, we go back to the past few months, everyone's kind of been indoors, going in your backyard and just sitting, candle, the smell, the scent of something. I recently started using, essential oils, and for me that's something that's been helpful, that smell of lavender and that relaxation. But
Yeah.
100%, even personal development is
Mhm.
such a huge form of self-care, and it doesn't have to be through just books. It could be through audiobooks, through TED Talks, podcasts, all these different areas that we can go to for self-care.
Mhm.
Something that I always find interesting when talking with other social workers is self-care something that you always thought of?
No. I did not always think of self-care. I always thought, that the giving would be the sole kind of benefit. And while it is, if you don't take care of yourself, like you said before, you don't have enough to give back. You'd use the phrase, you have to fill up your own cup first, or I've used the air mask on the airplane analogy. If you don't prioritize putting yourself first a little bit, you're not going to be present. You're not going to, be able to take care of anybody else.
Yeah.
And I learned that definitely, I went through a divorce at one point. My kids were very young, and trying to, take care of kids and myself and manage it all. It did take a toll, and I learned to maybe use those little pockets of time I could get in a better way, in a different way. And that was kind of how I started to build that self-care and just my philosophy around, taking those little times to take care of yourself and how important it was. It's necessary, like brushing your teeth every day, washing your face, taking a drink of water. We need to do that self-care every day in order to maintain, or else you just burn out.
Yeah, and it's I love that you bring up the family aspect of it, because for me, well, I'll be honest, 100% too. I didn't think of self care. I didn't even know what self care really was. Was I doing some sorts of it? Yeah, but I didn't know that I was doing it for me,
Hmm.
uh, until I became a mom.
Yeah.
And when I had ended up having multiple roles of mom, wife, social worker, I found the plates were way too much,
Yeah.
way too much, and sitting all the
Don't
time.
teach us juggling.
Yeah, and to really, like, as my daughter got a little bit older, she's 13 now, to really start to show to them that they need to take care of themselves as well, has really been a driving force for me, because it's something that wasn't always shown to me.
Right.
My mom was a giver, and I, rest in peace. She was always I'm going to give, I'm going to give, I'm going to give, I'm going to give, and not knowing of that other part of it. So while I'm so thankful for that, I want to be able to teach my children that that crucial part of development for yourself. So it
Mhm.
is, I think, such a huge component, not just for us, but for our families, and I think for our clients. You know,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah. I think it shows our families as well too, not only how to take care of themselves, but how we need to be taken care of as well. They see from how we treat ourselves, how we should be treated, So I think it's that full circle too.
100%. Um, I think that leading by example is something that I love to do, as a social worker and as a mom. My mom used to always say, talk the talk, but walk the walk. Um,
Hmm.
so once I started taking those steps, I see such a huge difference, in my children and in their routines and habits, and it helps them to learn the importance of routines and habits, as well, when we're learning on ourselves, because we need routines and habits outside of self-care too. When it
Hmm.
comes to schoolwork, when it comes to housework, when it comes to finances, any other aspect of it, having that routine and habit, I think, is such a crucial part too.
Right, absolutely. And like you said too, like you didn't have that awareness at one point, that the things you were doing were part of your self-care. And sometimes it's just that mindset shift alone. I've used before the kind of the shift from I have to I get to, even as like, just that changing the way you think about a situation can make all the difference in how you respond to it, how you feel about it, and how it affects you, whether it's positive or negative. So it's not always that extra effort, but it's just that whole kind of perspective taking.
Absolutely. And I love that we're going to continue these conversations more on self-care, and, the idea of, wanting to collaborate a little bit more, and having any other social workers or counselors that want to jump on with us, and maybe
Mhm.
get some questions from people ahead of time, and we'll schedule, maybe a weekly time slot for us to be able to chat more and answer some of those questions and topics. What are some topics? What's a topic that maybe you'd want to chat about next time?
I know one thing that has come up to me frequently, and I think we could do well to talk about it, is time management. People feeling like they never have enough time, or it just, they're overwhelmed by how much they have to do in periods of time. So maybe helping women see that perspective of, some options when it comes to time might be something, or hearing definitely from you guys as far as, our we're still givers. We still want to help you. And so ultimately, we want to know exactly what do you want to know about, what do you need help with, what's your pain point, because that's, I think, going to be the most fun, is being able to know we're actually helping with something that's going on for you.
Perfect. I love it. And I can't wait to talk to you soon.
Absolutely. This